This is Hospitality and Politics, powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. I am Andrew Ridgie, and today I am here with my dear friend and sister, Melba Wilson. Hello, Melba.
Hi, Andrew. I am so excited about what you're doing. You're giving it to us quick. You're giving it to us fast. You're giving it to us real and thorough.
I'm so excited to have you here. I mean, I feel like we talk all the time, but it's so fun when we get to actually sit in front of microphones and talk, and then everyone else can, tune in and be part of the conversation. So there is so much to go over. Where to even start? So I know, but I feel like you need to share, who is, I say Melba Wilson, but I feel like you could just be Melba. And you're like, okay. Oh, of course, I know Melba.
Wow.
So tell me, in your own words, who is Melba?
Who is Melba? Wow. What a way to start the interview. No pressure. Andrew, I'm the girl next door. I am the girl that everyone said couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, but that did. I'm the girl that a lot of people counted out. I'm the girl that's been on my own since I was 17. But I'm also the girl who believes in me. I'm the girl who believes in we. I'm the girl who places faith over fear. And I'm the girl who took a chance.
And you keep taking chances. And it's, I think it's very inspirational. Sometimes you hear people speak, you don't know them, and you're like, wow, that's a really inspirational person, but you don't always know what they're like one-on-one. And I feel like when we're just even talking one-on-one, I'm always so inspired by just you as a human and all the work that you're doing and kind of watching just you kind of grow and evolve over the years. Before we turn the mics on, which we'll talk more about, was how old is the restaurant Melba's in Harlem?
Oh my God, she's legal now. The original Melba's is 21 this year.
Wow.
So we can drink officially.
Fantastic.
But
Happy
where did
birthday.
the time, thank you. Where did the time go?
I know.
As the song goes, it was only a dream.
Yeah.
I used to read Word Up magazine.
I know.
And here we are 21 years later. Wow. It's giving birth to something, thinking about it, but then actually being able to see it, touch it, hold it, smell it, and watch it come to fruition.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So I want to talk all about the restaurant, but I want to just talk a little bit about your history in the restaurant business. How did you get from, or I should say, how did you get to opening Melba's about 21 years ago? What brought you on that path?
Well, I used to proofread actuarial laws at a very boring place called General Adjustment Bureau, and loved what I was doing, but it was like watching paint dry. Yeah. Oh my God. Every summer, my family's from Harlem. Well, I'm born, bred, and buttered in Harlem, but my family is from a very, very small town in South Carolina called Hemingway, South Carolina. Every summer when school ended in June, my friends would go to Disney. Well, we could not afford to go to Disney, but what we could afford to do was hop in that car, drive 12 hours, and get to South Carolina. When my brother and sister got out of the car, for them, it was about running to our cousins and playing. For me, it was going to my grandmother, getting an apron, and going into that garden, where we picked greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, you name it. But most importantly, seeing us all come together at the dinner table over food.
It's amazing. So from a young age, there was that draw and that drive towards food, but then also just the social aspect of being together, preparing, cooking, eating that you loved. And I guess that just never left you.
It never left me. But food is also a place where storytelling happens, right? I never got to meet my great-grandmother, Amelia, but I knew so much about her because every time we would sit at the dinner table over food that my grandmother and I prepared collectively together, that's how I learned how to cook, was at my grandmother's apron through her pots and her pans. But it was also rich because it explained the journey, the history of a food and a people that were once enslaved.
No, it's incredible. That's what I always say. You talk about your people's history, and when you just look at peoples across the world, food, how you grow, prepare, cook that food, and then how you eat it and consume it together is just so fascinating because you can just track back people's histories and cultures through their cuisines and the customs, around, eating those cuisines.
And food doesn't discriminate. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Whether it's an everything bagel or a piece of Southern fried chicken, matzo ball soup.
Yeah.
It does not discriminate. The only thing that it requires is that we sit down together and we enjoy collectively.
No, it's beautiful. So true. So, okay. So you grew up, you'd go down, you'd see your family, you'd pick the greens, you prepare them, you'd sit around the table, you'd eat, you'd talk, you'd tell stories. But then you get a little bit older.
Right.
And you're doing this other work and you say, I want to be in the restaurant industry.
Not at all.
No?
Not at all. I was bitten by the bug. It was my late but very great Aunt Sylvia that said, why don't you come over here and help me out at Sylvia's restaurant, which is going to be 64 years old.
Yeah, iconic Harlem restaurant.
Iconic. I mean, my aunt started out as a server, trying to get coffee out of the urn, couldn't figure it out. 20 minutes later, she's working there. And she, as the story goes, she ends up buying the space and eventually buying almost the entire block. So my aunt asked me to come and help her at Sylvia's. I got bitten by the bug.
That's incredible.
I loved it.
So what did you do when you were at Sylvia's?
I did everything at Sylvia's. I started out as a cashier, worked in back of the house, worked as a maitre d', worked as a hostess, worked in the office, ran catering. So whatever there was to do, I did it. So it was important for me to get a taste of everything in the restaurant industry. I didn't feel that any role was too big or too small.
Are there things like all these years later that you experienced or learned back in the day at Sylvia's that you use in your business, the restaurant today?
Totally. I'm going to share this one story with you. I'll never forget. I'm working in front of the house, working the door. I had on a black skirt. Well, the hem came out of the skirt. So I says to my aunt, Tanti, I'm going to run home and change my skirt. She was like, run home. Girl, come here. Pulls me in her office, takes the staple gun and proceeds to staple my skirt, the hem of my skirt. And back then I didn't understand the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
But years later, I totally get it. You don't stop. You keep going.
Yeah.
My aunt sent me right back to the front of the house to seat those however many hundred people were there. But in life, you don't stop just because the hem has come in from your skirt.
It's, I've always find it so amazing. And kind of going back to the inspiration, what I was saying when we first started the conversation is, I love stories from people that have certain experiences, and it could just be a run-of-the-mill everyday experience, and then they just move on to the next thing, and it's, something in the past. But finding these bits of wisdom in experiences and then applying them throughout your life is like a superpower.
It totally is. But there are also things that never leave you. Yeah. Right? Like I look back on tough times that I may have had yesterday, and I remember my aunt's words, stick through it.
I think there's also a generation thing. There is, that generation, we talk about like my grandfather, when I go in the bakery with him, I remember, like I'd be rolling Ruggalo with one hand and he'd be like, what's the matter? Your other hand's broken, So it'd be like, rolling twice. I love that. There's like all these things. And I think there is like, kind of a generation of like how things change. And I think the industry, has evolved as well. And, trying to figure out that balance because it is such a grind business. As like, glamorous in ways the restaurant industry can be, people don't always see all the behind the scenes stuff that you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like taking inventory and all the other stuff that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. All right. So you're at Sylvia's, then you get a little bit older. What's next for you in your restaurant journey?
Actually, let me just correct you. I haven't gotten older. Just call me Melba Benjamin Button. Okay, no. I'm going backwards. No, but worked in my aunt's restaurant. Loved every aspect of it. And then I was representing her at Gracie Mansion on an event where they were honoring people from film and stage. Well, I'm the only brown girl in the room. I'm the youngest person in the room. And they said to me, what are you going to bring? So my aunt told me that we were bringing fried chicken. We were making fried chicken and collard greens. So they get up to me and I said, we're making fried chicken and collard greens. So this guy across the room, big, robust guy, full beard, goes, why don't you make sweet potato pie? And I did, Andrew. I did sass him. I'm here to say the first time I did sass him, I was like, why don't you make sweet potato pie? And I'm like, what's Pavarotti doing here anyway?
Wow.
It wasn't Pavarotti.
Oh, no.
It was Drew Nearparent.
Oh, who is
only one of the top restaurateurs in the century.
That's amazing. And he was just on the podcast recently.
Oh,
we were talking about his new book.
Oh, my God. Yes. It was Drew Nearparent, one of my mentors and dear friends. But I sassed him. Yeah, I did.
That's hysterical.
The event comes up 8 weeks later. I get a tap on the shoulder. These are for you. I'm like, what are these?
Yeah.
They were the best thing I've ever eaten. Miniature sweet potato mousse tart.
Wow.
I took a bite out of it. Felt like I was in heaven. So I said to him, oh my God, these are so good. It makes me want to smack my mama. He was like, what? I'm like, it means it makes you want to do something that's insanely crazy, that you would never do. A friendship was born. He approached me about opening my own restaurant, him and De Niro, and we worked on a project for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition. They wanted to open up a place in the theater district. I wanted to reopen Minton's Playhouse. They agreed we would work on Minton's Playhouse, but Harlem was a different Harlem than it is today. And it didn't happen. But what did happen was a lifelong friendship and the experience that I got. Those guys taught me so much about this industry. So I went from there to working with Josefina Howard at Rosa Mexicano, working with Michael LaMonaco at Windows on the World, and to Melba's. So 21 years at the space in Harlem, 5 years in Central Park, 3 years at the Prudential Center, and my 1-year birthday is coming up in Grand Central Terminal.
Exciting.
With 2 more places.
I can't believe it's been a year. I remember the
know,
launch. That was amazing.
Wasn't that amazing?
That was beautiful.
It was really cool.
All right, so let's talk about like the Melba's. So how did you find the space for Melba's in Harlem? What was that story like? Because I feel like so many people think about, oh my goodness, like I'm going to open my first restaurant.
Yeah.
Where am I going to open it? Like that's a big process.
Yeah. Well, for me, being born, bred, and buttered in Harlem, it was important for me to be an example to my community that you can be in the community of the community and still thrive and present opportunities in the community. 114th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard was by far one of the most notorious drug blocks in 2004. There's a school in the middle of the block, Andrew. So that meant that before kids got a chance to go in and learn for the day, they had to walk through a scene of people using drugs, shooting up drugs, smoking drugs, snorting drugs, selling drugs. And then our kids had to go in and learn.
Yeah.
It bothered me. I was complaining about the problem, but what was I doing to be a part of the solution?
Yeah.
While on a flight one day, I heard a flight attendant say, in case of an emergency, put on your mask first. Something that we have all heard over and over again. But on this particular day, it resonated with me. And I'm like, girl, you're complaining about the problem, but what are you doing to be a part of the solution? Went home. I'd always saved money under my mattress. First National Mattress Bank. Sometimes it would be, I got paid every Friday, right? It would be $5, $10, $1, whatever, $20. And I started counting the money and counting and counting. And 2.5 weeks later, I finished counting the money and it was $312,000.
And that was just your years of working in restaurants and elsewhere and saving up the money.
And saving. And so the last day that I finished counting the money, I walked by 114th Street and there was a sign that said for rent.
Wow.
Call the number. Limley and Wolf were the landlords. Robert Reach answered the phone. And he said he had a lease out for the space. And I said, is the lease signed? He said, no. I said, well, you don't have a lease.
Yeah.
He said, I like you. He said, can you come in tomorrow? Totally booked tomorrow. Now, mind you, I had nothing to do tomorrow, right? Just go to work. I said, but I can come in today. And I did. And the rest, as they say, is herstory.
Wow. And see that? Not waiting, jumping on that right away. That
Totally.
work, that idea that I'm going to go get it now.
Totally.
Living in the moment. What were obviously building out a restaurant and everything that goes on into getting to that opening day is a lot. But what was like the first few weeks of opening and operating Melba's, especially when you're talking about what was going on the block and the drugs and the different types of problems? Like, what was that experience like when it's finally open and operating and it's showtime?
That was like, what did I do?
Yeah.
What have I gotten myself? Yeah. Oh my God. There's one thing to work at a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing to own and operate.
Yeah.
And my son was 4.5.
Wow.
I was going through a divorce and a new business. It was a lot. It was something that no one could ever prepare you for. Yeah. It was sort of like the birth of a new baby, literally.
It is. I mean, a restaurant is like a second baby.
It really is. It really is. Keeps you up at night, right?
Yeah.
But you also love it. You love it like you love a baby. You love it like you love a child. It's going literally from vision to reality. Yeah. It's a dream that no one else can see but you. And it's your job to make it happen. So by far one of the hardest things I've done, but also one of the most rewarding things I've done.
Are there things from those early weeks or months or even the first year that you look back at, you're like, wow, I wish back then I knew what I knew now? Because I always think about that too. People like hear your story and like, oh, that would be my dream. I want to open up my own restaurant. Yeah. And, regardless, you're always going to have to figure things out and problems are going to happen. But is there anything that like sticks out? You're like, oh, this is one or two things that I just wish I would have known.
Why don't we start with the obvious, okay? Whatever amount of capital you think you need, times it by 6, by 5 or 6. Oh my God. Undercapitalized. And one of the things that De Niro used to tell me, OPM, other people's money. Bring in partners and investors. I was so afraid of not being able to control the narrative, not being able, or someone stealing or someone, whatever. The more the merrier. I'm just now finally starting to bring in investors 21 years later. But what if I had brought in investors? I probably would have gotten to where I wanted to be sooner.
Yeah.
So as my grandmother used to say, Melby, close hand, nothing goes out. But guess what? Nothing comes in either. So I've definitely made some, I don't call them failures. I call them stepping stones because I've learned from so many different situations. But I definitely would have done things differently. Yeah. And bringing in capital partners, investors is one of them.
What was, like you said in the beginning, so I'm a brown girl, I'm opening my first business, we've had these conversations, what are some of those things, like everyone has their own personal experience based on what they look like, who they're connected to, where their business is located. Like, what are some of the challenges and opportunities and things that you've learned, being Melba and being yourself and opening the restaurant and kind of growing to where you are today?
Well, so many people always tell you what you can't do. Before you spell can't, you've got to spell can.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Totally. And so when people look at things that other people may see as a liability, I look at them as an asset. I really, really do. And so definitely Black, definitely female, definitely from Harlem. But how do I use that to my advantage? So it shows up when I walk in a room. I'm comfortable. I'm secure. I'm used to being around people. Hard times happen. They don't knock me out. They make me stronger because I'm used to it. So how do you use who you are and what you have as an asset and not a liability? Well, first of all, you've got to look at it as an asset.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been able to do. I truly have. I was sitting on a plane with Winnie Harlow a few months ago. And for those who may not know her, she's an amazing model and she has vitiligo. And I showed her a picture of my son and she says, oh my God, he's gorgeous. He should really model. I said, he would love to model, but he's so tall. And she goes, how tall is he? I told her, definitely not standard model height. And she said to me, Many people told me I couldn't model because I have vitiligo
Mhm.
and I'm the hottest thing on the runway. And she's right. She totally encompasses using what some people see as a liability as an asset. That was on September 7th. September 27th, my son did his first show at Paris Fashion Week.
Wow.
So you've got to, first of all, see it, believe it. And there's always going to be haters or people that don't believe in your journey.
When you're in a leadership role, leaders learn through time and experience. And like what you're saying about, it's not, life happens to you. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. But that's really like a learned muscle. So have you gathered techniques that you've used to exercise your response capacity when you face adversity, looking at something maybe that most people would perceive as, a negative or something that's going to push you back, and finding the lesson in it or the opportunity in it?
Oh, yeah. Is it Sunday here? I mean, like, take me to church, okay? Well, I come from a people that were looked down upon. I come from, when I go out my doors and I'm having a hard day, and there are those days, as we all know, being in this industry. To the right, there's a monument to Frederick Douglass. To the left, with the roots of the trees and the spirit of the people at the hem of her garment, there's the one and only Harriet Tubman. Both of them had dogs sicked on them, water hoses poured on them, were whipped, captured. That's the legacy that I stand on. And like that old spiritual hymn, I say, I won't complain. I owe it to my ancestors. I owe it to the people whose names we don't know. I owe it to the cooks, to the chefs that sweated over pots, bled, worked themselves to the bone to be able to show up. So I gather strength from those things. I gather strength from, the Aunt Jemimas of the world, the Uncle Bens of the world. And I say, I've got to keep going because it's because of so many of them and the people that fought with them and beside them. It's because of them that I have the rights and the liberties that I have. I mean, remember, it was in the 70s that women were not allowed to have a bank card with their name on it.
Yeah, it's, Yeah, no, you put yourself perspective of where you are and who you are in this, long history. And, you can get really, really deep. And sometimes just in our day-to-day lives and day-to-day grind, it's worth sitting and thinking about where you are and, using your perspective in a different way to respond positively, even when the energy coming at you may be negative.
Totally. And so it's all about our point of view. It's how we look at it. It's so about point of view. And these are not just words. This is my story. This is not just something, I read books like The Power of Positive Thinking, Think and Grow Rich, Who Moved My Cheese. So and these are books that I've read years and years and that I continue to read because we all need that support system. But a lot of it for me is also faith driven. It's being able to go to Reverend Johnny Green or being able to go to Joe Patasnik, or being able to go to Father Nolan at Blessed Sacrament and having conversations and being re-energized. Because I need that battery in my back sometimes.
Indeed. So let's put it to practical examples.
Okay.
Like you walk into the restaurant, right?
Okay.
You walk into Melba's. What's like, obviously there's a million things going on. What's like, do you have one or two go-to things you look at in the restaurant to make sure they're operating the way that you want them to operate? What do you do? Melba walks into Melba's at whatever time it is. What's like the first one or two things you're looking at?
First thing I'm looking at is lighting.
Okay.
I'm looking at the lighting. I'm listening to the music.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the tables, how people are. I'm looking at the plates.
Yeah.
And then I go to I go to the restroom.
So what is it about the lighting you're looking at? What is it about the music you're listening for? And what are you looking at on the plates?
So in terms of the lighting, is it conducive to, is it too dark? Is it too light? Is it just right? I don't like when the lights are too bright. I want lighting sets the tone,
Mm-hmm.
as does music. So I'm listening to the music. Is it R&B? Is it jazz? Is it hip hop? What type of music? Is it country western?
Yeah.
What type of music is it? I'm looking at the clientele. Are they eating all of their food? I read the body language. To me, before a guest comes to you and says that they need or want something, we should be able to anticipate that. And before they can open their mouth, we should be already there. Is my team touching tables?
I always see, I love the food. Obviously people go, they love the food. I always see on your Instagram and stuff, you're reposting people I made it to Melba's, or I'm at my go-to spot, Melba's, and they're showing the food and enjoying it. So I think the delicious food goes, without saying. But in addition to that, one of the things that I notice at Melba's is people are having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what is it that you've done and you kind of instill in your team to make people have fun? Because that's a energy, even if you're a fun person, you go into a place and it's a little and tired, you may not bring that same type of energy. So what are you doing from a business perspective to ensure people are having fun at the restaurant?
Well, comfort is more than just the name. It is the experience. So one of the things that we do is we do not hire the most qualified person. I look for the person that genuinely loves people. We can teach you how to open a bottle of wine. We can teach you how to cook. We can teach you how to serve. We can teach you how to seat. What we cannot teach you to do is to genuinely enjoy making people happy and being around people. So I've often interviewed people, and if I say, I don't know if they really are a people person, that's not the person for me. Some people may hire the person with the most experience. That's not me. Yeah. So I believe in investing in people, but also putting people where they're happy. Yeah. If you're happy at your job, when people walk in, you're going to make sure that they're happy.
Well, I love it. Sometimes you go out and I'll use birthdays, for example,
right.
And people do happy birthday. And you can see sometimes the people working there have fun doing it. Other times people are just doing it because, it's part of the job. But when it's somebody's birthday and they're having dinner at Melba's, and you see they come out and they're singing in Stevie Wonder version.
Yes.
Olivia with my daughter.
Yes,
I don't even remember.
She sung with us.
That was
Olivia has come up and sung with us. Okay.
So I'm totally you. So outdoor dining. So I want to talk about, because, as many people, but not everyone knows, that you were the president for 2 terms of the New York City Hospitality Alliance.
And thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, and during the pandemic, which
you didn't tell me that before. I was a year in when that happened.
If I only knew.
If we only knew.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I want to get back to that experience for you. Because I know how incredible it was to have you in that leadership position as executive director during that time. But, one of the things we did at the Hospitality Alliance was, I guess it was in May of 2020. We had been shut down a couple months by then because of the pandemic.
Right.
I co-authored an op-ed with then Speaker of the City Council, Corey Johnson, about the city allowing restaurants to do outdoor dining, because we knew that when the pandemic, when our government officials would let restaurants start opening up again for more than just delivery, indoor dining was going to be severely limited if allowed at all, and outdoor dining would be the option. And then about a month later, we were at Melba's restaurant with our then mayor, Bill de Blasio, and the first lady at the time.
And Olivia.
And we have to
tell that story. We have to tell that story.
So it was a whole show. So we worked with David Rockwell and the world-renowned Rockwell Group and built these beautiful outdoor dining setups, cabanas.
All through the city.
all through the city at
All 5
Melba's.
boroughs.
And I think it was like June 20th, the first day of outdoor dining. And we did a press conference, an event with Mayor de Blasio and the First Lady, you, your team, friends, family, my daughter Olivia, my wonderful wife Farnaz. And we're sitting there eating.
You have to tell this story. Okay. It's the best. So you have to tell this story.
So I remember. So we're sitting at the Sidewalk Cafe, and the mayor and the first lady are sitting, and we're kind of going back and forth and talking. You're sitting, at the mayor's table, and there's a bunch of press, cameras, people taking photos, reporters, and my daughter Olivia, she was in pre-K then. It got shut down. I know. I mean,
long ago.
So I don't know. Is that like 4
now she's
years
going to
old
middle
or
school.
something?
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
And she walks up to the mayor and says something like, "Oh yeah, the outdoor dining and all, that's really great, Mr. Mayor, but thank you for opening up the playgrounds." And everyone exploded laughing.
It was the cutest thing because it was organic and it was from a child's point of view.
Yeah.
She was like, what about she needed a place to run around and to release energy.
And we were all thinking about how great it was for us to be able to socialize over a meal, outdoor dining at a restaurant. But it just happened to be the same day that the playgrounds opened up. Because I start thinking about these things, we forget. The playgrounds were closed.
Everything.
They took the rims off the basketball, off the backboards.
Yes. So kids couldn't play ball.
So that was great. And there was actually an article. So she jokes "Oh, I'm Googleable" or whatever it is.
Go ahead.
But, that was a remarkable time. And I have to say, we've known each other for 20 plus years. But just like so many relationships, I think they strengthen and those bonds grow when you go through such a tragedy with another person. And I feel that with you because we were out front and center day in, day out, around the clock. Fighting, obviously, you for the survival of your business and your team, but then both collectively for our industry,
for the industry,
and really city as a whole.
That was a tough time, Andrew. First of all, we live in New York City. We are 365, 24/7. So I remember you and I talking up to that point. We didn't think the city was going to really shut down. I remember saying, yes, New York City, Andrew, it's not shutting down. You're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, the lights never go out. And the lights went out.
So what was your experience, candidly, being the president of the Alliance? Obviously, I'm the executive director. I run the organization, but we have a board of directors. We represent an industry. You, as the elected president, is a critically important position, leadership of the organization. What was your experience throughout that period?
That was by far one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Was be the face of the organization at that time. There are over 300,000 people that depend on this industry. It's how they feed their families. And one of the hardest things for me was not being able to say how long it was going to last, when it was going to be over, or even what it was. Because you remember in those beginning days, we didn't know, can you catch it from the phone? We had no clue. So being able to keep hope alive was difficult, especially when people were losing loved ones. There wasn't enough people. PPE. People didn't have masks. So that was really, really difficult. But I did know that through food, we could bridge gaps and we could bring people together. So what did we do? We went out and we fed first responders. We fed doctors, administrators, people that worked in hospitals, whether they were doing paperwork, whether they were porters. We personally fed over 200,000 people.
That's incredible.
But to keep the industry together, that was the hardest part for me, because people lost their jobs. And an industry where food was always in the forefront. Now those same people could not afford to eat and to feed their families. It's when I went into therapy for the first time in my life. Wow. I don't think you know that. I never told you that. Having the weight of the world on something. I always say food is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, because people didn't have an income, a lot of people couldn't eat. And that bothered me. Yeah. So when we got together, well, we're always together, but, you know, with David Rockwell and some of the sponsors in the city, in the state, and we're able to do dine out. We're able to do outdoor dining. For me, it was our way of serving, which is what those of us in this industry, that's where we get our joy. Yeah. We get our joy from being able to make people happy. And we're blessed to have food as a conduit to do so. It's just a vehicle.
Well, I remember the many, many calls and Zooms and then the in-person events we did, meetings with the governor, the mayor, all different policymakers. And, you know, it was such a massive tragedy that it was kind of like no matter how much you were able to accomplish and secure support for the industry, it was like never enough because it was just massive, you know, bigger than your mind could kind of wrap around. And it was ever changing, you know, the rules, the regulations. But I just find it just incredible how much we were able to do for people, secure for people. And I think so much of that too was bringing, you know, I guess the people's touch, that humanity, that hospitality to the advocacy. And, you know, I always say that.
And having our calls. Remember, we would have our calls to educate restaurateurs, whether they were members or not. That was valuable. And you being on television and informing, I think information is one of the most powerful things we can share. So even having you out there speaking on behalf, I mean, there were days I would talk to you, I'm like, oh my God, how many interviews did you do today? You were exhausted emotionally, mentally, and physically, but also spiritually.
No, it was some time, but it was so great to have, you know, you and just everyone else that was involved. And it was such a big team. I can't even start naming everyone because we'd be the whole conversation, but that like really pulled together collectively as an industry and a city to advocate and support each other. So, okay, this is all very important, but it's also a little like,
I know. I'm like,
but the fact is we're here right.
But it's true.
Yes.
It's true. And I think that if we're going to speak, we just can't speak about the good times. I think it's important to go back and remember.
And it makes the good times that much sweeter.
Come on, break it when you're able to. Give me 5. You know, I had to get a high 5 on this camera. Right?
Okay, so the good thing. So let's transfer to just going out. When Melba goes out and eats, I asked what you walk into Melba's, what are the things that you look for? And you said the lighting, the music, people's body language, their energy, what's happening on the plates in front of them. What about when you go out to someone else's restaurant? I hope you get to go out and just enjoy yourself. You're not always focused on work. But I also know you're a chef and restaurateur, so you're kind of scanning the room to see what are other people doing. So what are a couple of things that you look at when you go into other people's restaurants to try to do a little market research?
What are they using that I'm not using? Like I went out the other night, just Wednesday. I went out a couple of nights ago. And as the server put down the check, he put down a small QR code. And it's a small piece of paper. You take it with you and you go on Google right there in the restaurant, captured moment. And he took 1 second to really tell and say, this is what I'd love for you to do. This is my name. If you like my service. And I was like, you know what? That was really, really cool. So that's not something we do. That's something we're going to start to do. So it's looking to see how other people are engaging guests that we are not. And I think one of my best attributes is knowing I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. So being able to take in information and to see how I can do it to better incorporate our team to win. Because even though the name of the restaurant is Melba's, and I can do every job pretty much in the restaurant, I can't do it alone. And I can't do it all at the same time. So it's never about me. It's always about we. I'd be nothing without my team.
So what are you doing to just set up these systems within your team to make sure that everything's still getting done the way that you want to get done, but you're empowering other people to learn? Obviously, sometimes the way we learn is we fail. It doesn't have to be a disaster, but you kind of still need to give people enough space where you're not micromanaging them, nor could you because you're not there. So have you like put any systems into place? Like what's your management style to make sure that things can run well if you're not focused all the time on each
It's
thing?
about the team.
Yeah.
I have an amazing COO.
Okay.
An amazing COO. We're totally opposites in terms of personalities, but he gets the job done. And that's what you need. I don't need another Melba.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's looking in the mirror, first of all,
Yeah.
and understanding the areas that you're not the strongest in,
Yeah.
and surrounding yourself with people that complement
Yeah.
the business. And that's what I've done.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. I have an amazing COO, amazing CFO now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about the
Yeah.
team, a great PR company
Yeah.
that I'm very, very comfortable and happy with. So sometimes you got to kiss some frogs,
Yeah.
but you learn through kissing frogs.
Indeed.
And hopefully you don't get too many, what are those things that frogs give you?
Oh, like warts or something.
Warts. There we go. Hopefully you don't get too many warts
Yeah.
from kissing those toads. But that's also part of growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a part of growing, right?
Yeah, true. You know, you're such a good, like I said, half jokingly, I wasn't really, but I'm like, Melba, like, you've done an incredible job, I think, at like your own brand. It's such an important thing because I think a lot of times in the restaurant industry, but in business in general, people are always trying to figure out like, what is my business? Who am I? How does the world see me? And I think you've done a really incredible job of, branding the Melba's brand, you being, kind of a product itself. You know what I mean? Like people ask, is Melba going to be there? They want you to, be part of what they're doing because there is a perceived value of having you associated with that. And I think a lot of restaurateurs, chefs see that, everyone wants to align with, the celebrity chef, or even if it's like a big development project, right? They're looking at the restaurants, the food and beverage brands that are going to be, within that new development. So what do you think you've done most successfully that have allowed you to kind of become a attractive brand that people want to associate with?
You are so good at this, Drew. Oh my God, Andrew. I think it's being understanding that I'm enough in everything I am. I'm enough, and being comfortable in my skin. And it took me a while to get there, but being comfortable in my skin, understanding that I am perfectly imperfect, understanding that I make mistakes, but also providing an atmosphere for others to understand that about themselves and to be comfortable in it. So comfort is more than just the food, the experience, but also being comfortable with being perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. So it's like sitting with yourself, understanding not
Totally.
everything that you're going to do is going to be perfect, and
Right.
giving yourself a little grace.
Oh,
Because I think that also allows people to like connect on a human level.
yes, it does.
I forget what it is. You've said it to me once actually in an elevator, but I've seen you say it particularly to other women. Something where like they give you a compliment and their first inclination is to compliment you back, and you're like, stop. You stop them in your track. You're like, no. What is that?
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's so funny you remember that. So as women, when people give us compliments, like if I say, if someone says to me, oh, that's beautiful earrings, and I say, oh girl, I love your dress.
Yeah.
Or if someone says, oh, I love that dress. Girl, I had this dress 20 years. Just say thank you. Receive. Receive it. Oftentimes we volley, we throw it back, or we downgrade the compliment as if we're not worthy. And we are worthy. So receive it. And
Wonderful.
receiving sometimes is very difficult. And just like in the restaurant industry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. That's really nice, because
Yeah.
I see you say it. I've been meaning to ask you, so I'm happy that I got to actually
I didn't
ask
even know you heard me say that, but I do
of
say
course.
it often.
I think I pick up on, and what I love about our industry is like that human element.
Yes.
One of the things that you didn't say, so I'm going to say it for you because I've
Okay.
noticed it when I asked when you walk into the restaurant what you look for. And it may not be a what you look for, but I think the way that you walk through the dining room, and not only the way that people see you and they're like, oh, Melba, and they get all excited. I think you've been able to do that because when you approach them, you're about them in the moment. And I think that's part of hospitality. And I think that you see that every so often in our industry, someone that knows how to walk their dining room.
Yeah.
And connect with their guests and make them feel special. I think that is such a great quality.
Thank you. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I am able to do what I love doing most and make a living out of it. And what I love doing most is making other people happy.
Yeah. So is walking through your dining room, and the way, how I was just explaining that, is that like something that is just a natural skill, or is that something that you've like honed and perfected,
It's a natural skill.
Yeah.
I care about people.
Yeah.
I used to walk through Sylvia's dining room. I used to walk through the dining room at Rosa Mexicano. I care about people.
Yeah.
I want to know, is there anything we can do to make this experience better for you? And if I can, I'll do it. I'm in the service industry.
Yeah,
we're here to serve.
Yeah.
But serving is not just about giving the guests joy. It gives me joy to serve them and to make them happy.
So for 2 terms, you served as president of the New York City Hospitality Alliance that we discussed, and you're a big advocate, for the industry. What kind of policies do we need to support small businesses, restaurants, bars across the 5 boroughs? What are policies maybe that are being proposed that would hurt our industry? But what do you say to government officials now that you're not the president, you're still a board member, that you think our elected leaders, our government officials need to know about restaurants like Melba's and other restaurants, bars, and small businesses across the city? Because they have so much influence on, whether you're going to succeed or fail, or just kind of, just hover along, kind of not being super successful, not completely failing. What should they know about the business?
Well, they should know that New York City makes it very difficult for us to operate here. I still operate here because I love this city. But I'm going across the pond with my second place across the pond in New Jersey. There's so many other cities that welcome us. But there is no city like New York City. So I think that there's no way the city could or should eliminate the tip credit.
Yeah.
It's not for me mainly, it's for my staff.
Yeah.
Half of my staff would no longer work at Melba's if they eliminated the tip credit. Why? Because they would be bringing home less money. The hourly rate may be more, but they would get tipped less. We would have to raise the prices. It would be a disaster. Yeah. So that's one of the things that, we fought hard on,
absolutely.
And that we still do. But I think also the rules and regulations, over 6,000 rules and regulations. It's insane. Yeah. How can we run successfully and operate our businesses? So I think New York City makes it very, very difficult. And it pains me to say that because I'm born and raised here.
Yeah.
I live here and I love this city. I don't know that sometimes I feel, let me take that back.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like New York City doesn't appreciate the contributions that the food and beverage industry make to the city. You look at New Orleans. You know why people go to New Orleans? Because of the food scene. Mm-hmm. And guess what? One of the reasons, the main reasons that people come to New York is for the food scene.
Yeah.
The diversity of the different food in all of the boroughs in this city makes it like no other city in the world.
Yeah.
Of course, we have Broadway, we have theater, we have museums, etc. But make no mistake about it, the fact that you can eat your way to and from any country in this city, and the fact that we are one of the largest private employers in this country should not be frowned upon.
Beautifully said. And even to tie it back to what you said before, is that yes, food is a necessity, but it's also a luxury. So when people live here or people come here, yes, they want to go do these wonderful things like seeing our amazing Broadway shows, going to our museums, our cultural institutions, and everything that New York City has to offer. But those are, for lack of a better term, a luxury. Things that you don't have to do, but you can do, but you have to eat. It's a necessity, but it is also an enjoyable experience. So it is that combination of both of those that I think
Come on, preach, so Andrew, important. On a Sunday morning in the Baptist church downtown.
Okay, so last thing, and we could just go on forever and ever.
Yes, we could.
What's going on next for you, Melba? What are you super excited about? Life in general, but just anything, projects, upcoming things.
Well, for 2026, I have 2 places opening up. So super excited about that one. The first place is in Newark, which should open in June. 6,800 square feet, 550 Broad Street, being designed by the one and only David Rockwell. Amazing. Yay. If you know me, you know I love art. So there's a lot of local Newark artists in there. Right. There's also Say Adams, who is one of the greatest muralists, and Leroy Campbell's. It can't be Melba's without being Leroy Campbell and Say Adams. But being able to employ people within the Newark community. So we'll be bringing over 100 jobs to that community. And, Newark reminds me a bit of Harlem, with the culture. It's such a beautiful place. And it's also surrounded by water. Yeah. So it's totally looking forward to that. They also have 2 new studios that are opening. Lionsgate and Netflix are opening in Jersey. So, and also there's a Melba's food product line.
Wow. All right.
Yes. We've been testing it with the hot sauce and barbecue sauce for the last 3 years. And I just signed a major TV deal. So that should come out end of 2026, beginning of 2027.
So excited for you. So proud of you.
And then I'm retiring. I'm tired, Andrew.
I don't know about that. I think you will keep going. It's like what your Aunt Sylvia taught you, just to keep going.
Keep going.
It's so exciting. And it's like I said before, the mothership of Melba's in Harlem, and how all of this amazing growth and opportunity came from this one restaurant, but it was obvious you were, growing those roots long before you even opened Melba's, which I can't believe is going to be 21 years.
Legal.
Melba Wilson,
Andrew,
my friend.
You're stuck with me. You're stuck with me. And I just have to say this. Thank you for all that you do for so many of us all around, and not just New York City, but around the country, being the voice and being the face of this industry. And when I was president, I would not have been able to do it without you. So thank you.
Heartfelt thank you.
Thank
back.
You. Thank you.
And we both can sit
no
with it. Thanks.
No volley, no back. Just
hospitality
receive.
And politics. I'm Andrew Ridgey. The show is powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. Thank you to my guest, Melba Wilson. We'll see you next time.
Great job.